Hello and welcome to another video. So for today's video, I'm going to be wrapping up my reading for 2021 and I'm going to be giving you my 2022 reading plans. I know a lot of people make multiple videos about like how they were reading in 2021 and kind of what they have planned for 2022, but this is my first year doing YouTube and I had no idea that that was the thing that people did. So I'm way behind and I didn't make any of these videos. So I'm going to try to make it up with this one video and hopefully it's not too long. So first I'm going to be talking about my 2021 reading stats, and then we're going to go into my favorite books, my least favorite book, and then we're going to finish off the video with the books I really want to get to in 2022. I'm going to have little timestamps if you want to skip around in the video. So first, my 2021 reading stats. I ended up reading 133 books, which was way beyond my goal of 115 books for this year. I attribute a lot of that to work. So I'm an audiobook proofreader, which means I read for 8 hours, 5 days a week. And I get through many books this way, probably 2 to 3 books a week. And then obviously all the books that I read on my own time, which isn't too many because it's kind of hard to read for 8 hours and then go and read more books after work, if you know what I mean. So with those 133 pages, I ended up reading 37,633 pages in total, which averages to about 103 pages a day. Again, I attribute a lot of that to work. Kind of hard to take credit for that. I did find it interesting though that my most productive, or I guess successful month this year was June, where I read 4,650 pages, which was 16 books. And I think that's absolutely nuts because only 10 of those were for work and 6 of them were on my own time. And 6 books is on my own time, I think is a lot. On average, I usually read about 4. So I did keep track for how many books I was reading in different genres I was reading them in, but I didn't actually count them all up. Instead, I have a little graph, and I thought it would be more fun to just show you than to just sit here and tell you all of the numbers. So this is a little bar graph that I made for how many books I read in each of the genres. I just kept track of mystery, thriller, horror. I have all that in the same category. Contemporary romance, paranormal, business, psychology books, and self-help is in the same category. Sci-fi and fantasy is in the same category because I wasn't reading a lot of those this year. Regular contemporary fiction and nonfiction. And nonfiction is very inclusive of like, you know, biographies, science books, math books, I don't know, whatever else I was reading that was nonfiction. Also, a lot of religious books I read, I kind of included in nonfiction because I didn't really know where else to include those. This year for the genres I'm keeping track of, I'm including a couple more genres to kind of make it a little bit easier for where to put these books. And I have that in my 2022 reading journal set up, and I'll have that linked in the cards. I still don't know what side it's on. Okay, so moving into my top 3 books of the year. These aren't really in any order besides the months that I read them in. So in March, I read We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. This is the first book I reviewed on BookTube, and it just kind of has a special place in my heart for that. It was also an incredible book. Like I cried reading it. I read this very quickly. Before reading this book, I was not exactly in a reading slump, but kind of. Like for the couple of years before I read this book, I wasn't reading as much because I was like just getting overwhelmed with my job, and I was kind of like newer, so I wasn't exactly used to reading that many books at once. So I wasn't reading so much outside of work. And then BookTube really kind of brought me into reading for fun again, and specifically this book was the start of it. So it's kind of like an emotional favorite book, but it's also an incredible book. This is a thriller about this girl who spends summers on this island with her family, and something tragic happens and she can't remember what happened. So the story is following her as she goes through her trauma and figures out what exactly happened. And it was just incredible. And then in August, I read Beyond by Mercedes Lackey. This is not the first book in a series. It was actually a prequel to another series, and I read this book for work, so I didn't read any of the other books in the series, but it was still so good. It was kind of like a sci-fi fantasy book, which I usually don't go for sci-fi books. And it's about this village, I guess, and they're under the rule of a horrible king, and they don't like living there at all. So they found a way to kind of use a portal and sneak their village into a very, very far away land where the king can no longer control them. And the book kind of is like separated between the main character, who has to go to the kingdom and kind of basically play all of the games so that the king doesn't get suspicious. And in so doing, he ends up freeing tons of these like robot slaves. I'm not exactly sure what they are, but it was incredible. And then like the other half of the story is the village people at home who are trying to get everybody to safety. And it was just a really great book. And I would love to read the rest of the series, and I really hope that by reading this prequel, I didn't ruin the rest of the series for myself by like giving spoilers. I don't know. And then in December, I read The Fixer-Upper by Lauren Forsyth. This is an arc that's going to be released in August of 2022, and this was so good. This book is about this girl who has all kinds of relationship troubles, and she discovers that the reason why she has these relationship troubles is because she puts a ton of emotional work into these fixer-upper men, and basically helps them reach their potential and helps them become better people. So whether that's they take better care of themselves and they're in a better mental health space, or they finally go after their dreams and they stop procrastinating, or they get promotions at work, or whatever the reason is, they kind of become better people and they move on from this relationship and they enter other relationships that are more long-term for them. So she kind of capitalizes on this by making a side business, helping other women to see their partners kind of reach their full potential, just like with gentle nudges and slight little bits of manipulation. And then she gets hired by this like semi-famous person to kind of fix up her man. And it turns out this man is the main character, Allie's estranged best friend from childhood that she hasn't talked to in the past 10 years. And it's a catching up story. It's a childhood friends to enemies to lovers story. And there's so much going on. There's a lot of feminist problems being solved. There's a lot of LGBTQ representation. There's just a lot going on, and it builds characters, and it's so great. So out of all these 3 books, I really wanted The Fixer-Upper to be my favorite book that I read in 2021, but I felt a little bit weird doing that because it wasn't yet released in 2021. So like, I'm gonna take that book outside of the frame of time, and that's gonna be one of my favorite books. But books that I read in 2021 that was my favorite is gonna be We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. This is gonna be my top 2021 favorite read. So I didn't want to do the top 3 worst books I read for this year because that's kind of just depressing, and I don't want this video to be like 6 hours long. The least favorite, absolute worst book I read this year was The Plan by Whitney Deneen. I did talk about this in one of my videos before, like one of the way beginning ones, so don't go watch it because it was really bad. This book I read in March. This is a romance. It's about this girl who has major anxiety. This like rock star comes into town and they like fall in love, and he tries to help her overcome her anxiety. And while I love seeing anxiety representation in books, as a person with anxiety, I love to see it. However, it was not done well. This is kind of like an unpopular opinion. Like if you go and look at the reviews on Goodreads, a lot of people thought that the anxiety representation was good and relatable. I didn't see it that way. Also, I'm not trying to sound like smarter than anybody, but I do have a psychology degree. So like a lot of things that were described as anxiety really weren't. They kind of fell under other terms. Like a lot of things that she had problems with would be more classified as OCD. A lot of misconception around OCD where people think that it has to be about counting or cleaning, and it's not that at all. It's a lot more about obsessive thoughts, which this character has a lot of. And this, I don't want to go off on a rant because I can already feel myself going down there because this book makes me feel very passionate, and it's not good. I didn't like it. And the way that they kind of just like brushed over anxiety and how she got cured from anxiety and how it was so easy for her to get over these like large mountain roadblocks, like it's not believable. I didn't like it. 1 star. I would have DNF'd it if I wasn't reading it for work. offensive. Okay, so moving on to the books that I want to get to in 2022. Originally, I was going to make a 22 books in 2022, but 22 was a little bit overwhelming, so this is going to be more like a 10 books I want to get to in 2022. These books aren't in any type of order, and the reason I want to get to these books is not really any specific reasons. It's more like I wanted to read these in 2021. I had them in my possession and I just didn't get to them, and so I really want to get to them soon because I'm excited about them. I'm going to try to breeze through this because I've already been talking for 16 minutes. So the first one is A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. This is the second book in the Court of Thorns and Roses book. I read this one a long time ago, probably close to a year ago now. I want to say it was in like the early months of 2021. I don't know exactly. I did actually start reading this, but I only read maybe 10-15 pages, and I put it down because I actually can't remember why. But I put it down and I didn't get back to it. If you don't know what this is just a fantasy book. The first book, A Court of Thorns and Roses, is kind of like a Beauty and the Beast retelling, but through fantasy and fae, and this is just a continuation of the story. Next I have The Mermaid by Christina Henry. This is another fairy tale retelling of The Little Mermaid, except it's way different. It's not like the Hans Christian Andersen or the Disney or whatever kind of reiteration it is. This is about a mermaid who comes to land and she interacts with P.T. Barnum, you know, from Barnum and Bailey, like the circus. And I think it has a lot to do with exploitation of relationships and friendships and stuff. I don't exactly know. It could be a romance. I really don't know. But I love the concept so much. Like, I love mermaid books. I'm always looking for more mermaid books. I also have a special place in my heart for the circus. I used to go to the circus like every single year when I was a kid. I just love the circus, and P.T. Barnum, like, I would always go to, like, you know, I would always go to like their circus, and so I'm excited. Like, I want to read this book. I'm excited. Next I have The Stand by Stephen King. This is not the original Stand. This is the extended version. So this is, you know, 1,300 pages. This book, all I know about it is it's kind of follows a pandemic, which I don't know, I guess is fitting. I'm not reading it because we're currently in the middle of a pandemic. I'm reading it because I'm trying to get through a lot of Stephen King books this year. That's like a high priority of mine. I'll have another video kind of explaining why. I think that's going to be coming out the end of January, maybe February. I might push it back another month, but it's going to be coming out soon. This book I'm so excited about. So this is Will, and it's a biography about Will Smith, and it was co-written by Mark Manson. I've been looking forward to this book for months. I thought it wasn't even going to get released until January, so like I didn't go out and get it, but it's actually released in like November or something, and I just, no idea. And then I was surprised and I got it for Christmas from my fiance, and I'm really excited. I love Will Smith, and I heard amazing things about this book, so I'm very excited to read this, and I will be making a video about this soon. Next is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. I had this last year and I wanted to read it around, I believe Halloween time. I just didn't get to it because I had a lot of other things on my plate. I want to read this again because I love the circus, but also because I'm trying to get into more fantasy books. Like, I love the couple of fantasy books that I read, and so I just want to read more. And I've also heard amazing things about this. So that was 5, and number 6 is Beach Reads by Emily Henry. This is another one I heard mixed reviews on. This is a romance about two writers who write different genres. One of them, I believe, is a romance writer, and the other one is like a nonfiction or something where he has to do a lot of like research on it. And so they switch genres and they write each other's genres, and I thought that was like a really interesting concept. So while I did see mixed reviews on this, I think I'm going to enjoy it. Next I have Anxious People by Frederick Backman. I didn't realize that this was like so popular when I got it. It's actually, I think it won one of the Goodreads Choice Awards in 2020. I'm not 100% with that, but I think it did. This is a contemporary fiction about this robber who gets stuck in in like an open house, like a realtor open house kind of situation. And he takes all these people hostage, and it's just about like relationships and stuff. It's a very character driven story. And when I saw this at Barnes & Noble, I just I was very interested in that because I love circumstantial relationships in books, and I like to see how they happen, and I don't know, it's just different. Like, I never read anything like this before, so I was excited. So the next couple books I don't actually have. So the first one is Strange the Dreamer. I believe that's Lonnie Taylor. This is another fantasy book that I've heard a lot of good things about, and I want to get into more fantasy books. I don't know too much about it, except it has to do with dreams, and I'm very fascinated by dreams and all the concepts of dreams. Then I have Bunny by Mona Awad. This is another one that I heard a lot about on BookTube, and it's one of those that I'm very interested in because I really love unreliable narrators, and I love books that make you think and have conspiracy theories, and that's exactly what this book is. I believe it's a horror thriller, dark academia kind of situation. All I know about it is it's about these girls in school, and they have a group and they call each other Bunny, and stuff happens, and that's it. That's all I know. All right, and the last book on this like 10 books I want to read in 2022 is Then She Was Gone by Lisa Jewell. This is a thriller. It's about this lady whose daughter goes missing, and a couple years later she is dating this guy, and she goes to meet his children, and one of his daughters looks exactly like the daughter of hers that went missing. I read the back of this at Target like months ago, and I've never bought it for whatever reason. I feel weird about buying books at full price, so I didn't get it, but like I wish I went back and got it, and I've been thinking about it ever since, and I just want to read it. So that's pretty much it for my 2022 reading plans. I do have a couple of video plans. I want to try to put out videos twice a week as much as I possibly can. I'm going for consistency this year. I was doing this when I first started my channel, but I got overwhelmed very quickly because I didn't really know what I was doing, and I didn't plan out the videos, and it got overwhelming. But I think I could do this for at least January and February, so fingers crossed. But yeah, I also have a goal of reaching 300 subscribers this year, so I kind of need to be putting out more content so more people could see my videos, and hopefully YouTube kind of promotes my videos to new people. If you want to help me out and give this video a like and subscribe if you're not already, like that would be very helpful for reaching my goal for this year, and I truly do appreciate it. I really, really do. But yeah, that's going to be it for today's video. Let me know in the comments what books you're looking forward to reading in 2022. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!